My body feels this truth, and I was downloaded with the knowing, deep within my soul. I recall coming into the body and the birth, and I feel that God, the universe, the creator, gave me a choice. I was being asked that if I would like to trade places with the soul of the child. So I agreed with this contract to this life experience, and I would learn all the lessons that I was going to experience in this lifetime through the soul birth and in ancestral ties. I would make the most of the experience, achieve my own life goals, and reach the soul and the souls because of love from the heart.
Hello, my dear friends. I'm Donald Lee, and this is Expressing and Revealing Your Truth with Donald Lee. It's a podcast in which I help you understand the truth about who you really are and how you can express and reveal that truth in the world. To do that, I interview people who have had transformational spiritual experiences, the type of experience that many of us wish we had, but never do. Yet by learning from my guests' experiences and the wisdom they've gained from these experiences, all of us can glimpse a bigger vision of who we really are and how we can live our lives more fully, more peacefully, more lovingly. Be sure to download my free mini ebook containing 5 of the 50 parables from my popular book, The Band Director's Lessons About Life. These little parables are short, easy to read, inspiring, and also help you to understand more about who you really are. There's a link in the show notes to get your free ebook. In this episode, I interview Kani Diaz. She is a rather unusual walk-in. A walk-in is a soul who agrees to come into a body when its previous soul wants to leave. There is an exchange of souls. In Kani's case, this happened right at the birth of the person. Maybe the existing soul sort of got cold feet, you might say, about the life mission this person would undertake. Kani has since gone on to develop her spiritual gifts and to fulfill her life mission. I'm sure you will enjoy this interesting conversation with Kani Diaz. Let's jump in. Hello, my dear friends. We're here today with Kani Diaz. Now, she spells her name a little bit funny. I don't know, maybe there's a story behind that, maybe there's not, I don't know. But we're going to jump in, and Kani's going to tell us a little bit about herself, because she had a fascinating beginning and fascinating life so far. I'm sure the rest will be fascinating too, but as we mentioned, Kani has a very unique experience of being a walk-in. But Kani, I'm going to turn it over to you. Take it away.
Thank you. Thank you, Donald, very much. Okay, so first I just want to introduce myself. I am Kani, a spiritual artist, a multi-dimensional being, a conduit for spirit, a writer, and a teacher. Beautiful. And when you talk about the walk-in aspect of who I am, I came to know that I was a walk-in at birth. And I came to know that a traumatic event led to my premature birth. And years ago, that was really an intense life or death experience or event. I know this to be true because my body feels this truth, and I was downloaded with the knowing, deep within my soul. I recall coming into the body and the birth, and I feel that God, the universe, the creator, gave me a choice. I was being asked that if I would like to trade places with the soul of the child, because the alternative would have been passing of the child due to a trauma. I didn't want the woman to experience the pain involved in the loss of her child. So I agreed with this contract to this life experience, and I would learn all the lessons that I was going to experience in this lifetime through the soul birth and in ancestral ties. I would make the most of the experience, achieve my own life goals, and reach the soul and the soul's family because of love from the heart.
At what age were you, Connie, when you realized this? Because probably when you were 1 or 2 years old, or by the time you started talking, like,
Yeah.
you couldn't have explained that, and maybe you were not aware
Yeah.
of it. So at what age and how did you become aware that this happened when you were born, at your birth?
I think it was in my 30s. I feel it was about that time after I had my own children. And so it was at that time that I started, after I had my children, I was seeking a way for my own self-care because I had had all these mystical experiences. I had all these things that had happened to me, that were happening to me, and I wanted to be able to explain that and also take care of myself at the same time. So I would look at different types of self-help books. I would go into my local bookstore. I mean, books would literally fall off the shelf because that is something that I was asking those kinds of questions. And so I think it was in my 40s when it was one day coming home from work, and I was just thinking about the story of who I was at my birth and thinking about my family and different things. And my guys just said, "Pull over," and I did. By that time, I knew how to use some of my gifts of the internal hearing. And at that time, when I sat there in my car, I was just downloaded with the information where all the little ties connected together. And that really, I just burst into tears. Seeing all those connections made and knowing, wow, that's really what happened. It was pretty amazing. It was one of those times
Yeah.
where just, you know, you get that inner knowing.
Right, right.
Uh-huh.
Well, I mean, millions of people would like to have that sort of explanation in their lives. I mean, millions of us go through our life thinking, "God, what are you doing to me? Why this? Why that? What am I supposed to be doing here?" Like, what's all of these existential questions that all of us have, and most of us don't have the kind of close connection between our soul and God that you have in your life and you're describing. So, Connie, can you now go back a little bit and tell us then a little more about your journey, your spiritual journey then
Oh,
from
okay.
childhood onward, hitting the high points, the key points of enlightenment or turning point in your spiritual journey.
Okay. Let's see. Let's let's look at that part. Okay. So, like I said, it was after the birth of my children. I was about in my 30s where I started looking into classes of self-care. And first, I was drawn to learning about angel energy. That I felt very safe in that. And literally, like I said, I was at bookstores and I've always enjoyed reading, and books would just fall off the shelf. And after I looked around trying to see if anybody else had noticed what happened, I would just pick up the book and I would read it. This turned out to be expanding into topics like mind, body, and spirit healing from new thought perspectives. And then came my spiritual classes where I was drawn to them. And I have known about my abilities to hold the space for healing to happen using energy since taking up my very first class about how energy works from an angel intuitive. And I recalled feeling heat coming from my hands, opposite from each other. I actually felt the ball of energy that I held between my hands get larger and even more dense. My hands felt like they were tingling. I felt a vibration. When I quieted my mind and I focused on the truth of complete health, I was able to hold the space for healing to happen. Healing energy would flow through me, through the universe, and I trusted in its power. My guides have always been Jesus, Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene, and Kuan Yin, among some of the ascended masters that I worked with. And I really call upon the higher realms of angels to help me as well. I feel safe and comforted by their energy. And I believe that also there's another story, but I think all of this came from the fact that I was still having to live life, and events would happen that would require me to go to a place where I really needed comfort and help because I really didn't have family or the feeling of family around me. And that I think that's one of the aspects of the walk-in is that you don't always feel, at least me, there were just times where I would look for others like me and that were having the same kinds of experiences. Through my classes, I would listen to all the other students and I would sit there just observing like I always had, being very young and learning how to do that and wondering, okay, is it safe for me to open my mouth? Can I do that now? Or do I have, should I wait until I understand what else is going on, in this place?
Yeah, right. It's always this is true. And there's so many topics, right, that we want
Mhm.
to be able to talk about, particularly those of us who have, um, well, maybe I shouldn't put myself in this category, but
Yeah.
those who have had spiritual experiences or have some kind of insight or knowledge that we might say ordinary people don't have, we're treated as crazy. Um, when we talk about things that other people think don't exist.
Mhm.
So, I mean,
But it was
there's sometimes
something.
people just talk about God and others think they're crazy. You're a Jesus freak, so talking about things that don't exist.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah, but for me, it was true. And that's one of the really
yeah,
important things. It's about having a voice, I think. And my
yes,
entire life, that's what I was reaching for. That was one of my goals because, prior to that, you're in school and you're told, okay, follow the rules, do this, do that. Um, then as you get older and maybe you go to training school or go to college, it's like you have to have a voice to do that. You have to you have to show up as independent, having to have thoughts. At times, other times things are coming out where you're reading about it and you have to regurgitate what they want. But I had to learn how to play lots of games. And that's how I saw it. That's how I saw life. It's like, okay, this lesson, what am I going to be doing? I'm just going to learn how to play this game and then I'm going to do it their way. And let's see what happens. And and eventually, like I said, through all the traumatic events that happened in my life, good, bad, indifferent, I had to start pulling from a source. And the source eventually, because of what I was hearing, seeing, feeling, knowing, it was really the truth within me. Mhm.
it's within us, right? I
Yes.
mean, even like St. Paul says, don't you know that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit that dwells within you? Right? The God that we see dwells within us. That's one of the great blessings that God gives, the grace that God gives to every one of us is that he is within us and we need to seek him there within.
Yes. So then I have another little story along that path of, knowing who I am and the little events that led up to it. I was on the big island of Hawaii, and I mean, it really seems very magical. A lot of the experiences that I've had. I was with a spiritual group and I was learning. I was walking on a lava field with the moon in the middle of the night. The moon was out, and I stumbled and I put my hands out in front of me. And when I did that, I got a lot of little cuts on my hand because a lava field is like I it's like glass.
Yeah.
And so when that happened, I mean immediately my friends thought, my colleagues thought, "Oh, we need to take her to the hospital." And so I did that, but then later on came that knowing, that message again, this is something that happened to you because you were being initiated. and you were being
Oh,
initiated into the healing, um, the use of energy from the goddess Pele. And so and when that truth happens, I feel the knowledge in my entire body, and I feel that knowing, and so then it becomes something that I just know for me.
okay. So were you able to kind of heal your own hands?
Oh, yes, I mean,
Is that was
yes,
that part of that
because our body
initiation?
does heal itself.
Yes,
And so, yes, I'm a quick healer, with my own body. Yet I continue to feel, a really fiery energy between my hands, and it was really transformational. Um, it was just magical. And it
right.
happened when I was getting that knowledge came another one, a connection with the body. I was getting a massage, and then all of a sudden, in my meditations, in that quiet space of my mind, I started hearing the story. I started hearing the truth of what happened, and what it was going to serve for me as I went through my spiritual growth.
And what is that, Connie? What's the message that you received?
Oh, the message that I received was the story about I was initiating with through that experience with blessings from the goddess Pele. Some
Okay.
people would
I,
see.
I'm not familiar with the goddess Pele. Can you
Oh, okay.
explain?
Yes. She is a very fiery energy. She's the goddess of of the lava, the fiery energy of lava
Oh,
on Hawaii. And so during
okay.
that entire trip, I I'm a water sign. And during that entire trip of transformation, spiritual transformation, I mean, I was bleeding. I went through like this, like I said, a transformation. It was an initiation. And so it was like, okay, it was either I was experienced bleeding or just powerful tears of clearing. It was just a very extreme, energetic place for me, and I absolutely loved it. And that's how I adopted, my the spelling of my name, because that's my name in
Oh,
Hawaiian. Mhm.
wow. Well, what was the name your mother gave you then?
Well, this is my spiritual name that I practice under. So,
Okay, so Kani,
and I,
and it's
uh-huh.
pronounced Connie. Like the
Yes,
A
Connie, like
is
the
very
English.
often an aw sound, right? But
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. So I really liked it, and I decided, I'm going to, and it mirrors the English spelling of my name, the Connie.
Okay, super.
Okay. So let's see. And then I just wanted to talk a little bit about the some of the tools I use. Like I use angel numbers of patterns and sequences. And when a message is
What are angel numbers?
oh, okay. Well, like I said, in bookstores, I was led to, it was mostly mind, body, and spirit section,
Right,
and it was self-help. And I started seeing books about patterns and numbers and the messages that they can give you. And in particular, angel numbers I was drawn to. So I would read these little books, and I would just on a daily basis, they help me. So when I see a pattern on a car license plate, on a receipt when I go get my morning tea, um, hmm, time, digital time, any
right,
time where, spirit influences the mechanics, can influence the mechanics of those things. And so
right.
I'll just be guided to all of a sudden look to my left and see that number. It could be on a billboard. It just can be anywhere. And so I'm very attuned with that.
Mm.
And
Like when like when
I
you
know.
you turn and look at the clock and the time is exactly 11:11.
Yes, which to me
Yeah.
would signify, like early new beginnings. So there's a theme that goes with it. I'm very drawn to numbers, and so that was one of the things that helped me on my way.
Okay.
Trying to discern whether I do something or not, or, when I pray for help, because you have to ask the angels for that. You have to ask for their intervention. And so I did. I would ask for it and I would say, please give me a message about this. Is this right for me right now? Different things in my life, different
Right.
times.
Right. We often forget to do that, and I think I often forget too because the angels and other um, what we might call celestial beings, whatever name you want to give to these sorts of entities, they w- they respect the law of free will. Like
Yes.
they don't interfere in our lives unless we ask for their help, and that's one of the things that prayer is all about, right?
Yes.
Is asking for help.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's the release, because we pray and that's when I think we hear answers, when we get quiet inside, but the
Right.
prayer is the release so that the rest can come. Yeah. That's how I see it.
Okay. Kind of like the letting go. We
Yeah.
have this expression, let go and let God, right? Is when
Yes.
we're hanging on really tightly, we're going to control everything in our lives. Well, nobody can help us because we're trying to do everything ourselves, right? It's
Yes.
like, I mean, you're also a school teacher. I've been a school teacher, and it's like trying to help kids, whatever it is, help them to tie their shoes. No, I want to do it. Like, yeah, you're doing it wrong. I could help you. No, leave me alone. All right. I'll leave you alone. You can do it your way until
Yeah.
you're ready to figure out that your way is not working very well and accept help. So, yeah, with the angels and God's help, all the rest of us, right? They'll just sit back and say, okay, you do it
Yes.
your way as long
Yes.
as you want. But, we're here to help. You just have to ask.
Yes. And so I find that when I do ask and when I do let things happen like that, after I use my guidance, that it's much easier that way.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I really struggle and it can get difficult, you know? It can get difficult. And I want it to be a joyful experience. I use a lot I have a lot of use of lightness in my life. I see things let's see if I have to go back to anything to remind me where. Um okay. So it's
Are
kind of
there
along
are
the
are
line.
are there some other significant events or incidents, points in your life that opened up your spiritual awareness for you?
Let me take a look.
Yeah, for
Um
for those who are listening, Connie has gone to the trouble of writing down some of her thoughts so she doesn't ramble so much. And
Yeah.
when we spoke yesterday in the phone, she said, "Yeah, I tend to ramble." So thank you
I
for
can
making the effort to clarify your thoughts and your thinking, so we don't
Yes.
sort of uh,
I
can
can really get in
impose
the flow of
impose our ramblings on our listeners too much.
I tend to really get in the flow of spirit and I get into the flow of what I'm doing and I can talk for a really long time. Okay. So when I was open to spirit and to to spirit and helping myself, I started to understand the spiritual teachings of the masters, how to trust myself and who I truly was. And how to trust myself and who I truly am. I became more present. And so, what is real to me is being of service to the universe with love and joy. I've learned how to give to myself first in order to help others. I feel my happiest when I do this. Even the slightest breath that I allow myself is seen as really precious because it's a gift from the universe. Oftentimes now, as I listen to the sound of nature and focus on it, mm, I'm put into a space of natural love of the moment. This I carry with me throughout the day, my life, to help me on my journey. The perfection of the moment is where I always wish to be.
That's good.
Mm.
That's like one of the oldest and most fundamental of all spiritual teachings, right?
Mm.
Is that the only reality is now.
Yes.
There really is no past and there really is no future. We cannot act in the past or in the future. We can only act in the present moment. We can only experience the present moment, right? So that's,
Yes.
when we spend so much of our time, either with our mind thinking about past events or imagining future events. That's my great weakness. I'm always thinking about the future. I don't think about the past so much. um, I'm in the future, so my challenge is to bring my thinking from the future, from planning and thinking about what might happen or what I'm going to do later, all that kind of stuff in the future, to bring my conscious awareness into the present moment. But it's a challenge for all of us.
Yes. Yeah, and that's what that when I came on, thinking about what I was gonna, pull from today out of all my learnings, I thought, how could I help people the most? And those are just some of the things that I've picked up along the way. And I really do live a very peaceful life. Um, I consider my space, which is me, very, very calm, very nurturing, very compassionate, and also peaceful.
Just a little break from the program to mention a couple of things. Firstly, if you're enjoying this podcast, please like and subscribe. It really helps the algorithm to find more people who would enjoy these interviews. Also, if you're interested in spiritual growth, you might be interested in my series of spiritual books. As a spiritual author and a former band director, I use my little the band director trademark in these books because I use music as a metaphor for life and our journey of becoming a musician as a metaphor for our spiritual journey. There are 3 books in these series. The Band Director's Lessons About Life is a book of modern-day parables inspired by events from my teaching career. When you're working with kids, things naturally come up that we sometimes call teachable moments. Little events where you realize that there's a bigger lesson happening right now than the alternate F-sharp fingering on the clarinet that I was trying to teach. I started writing some of these little stories down and turning them into modern-day parables. So, the Band Director's Lessons About Life has 50 little parables. It's a bit like a Chicken Soup for the Soul book. Each parable is about 3 pages long. Each begins with a story that happened in school, and then there's a reflection section that draws a spiritual lesson out of the events of the story. That is, it explains what the spiritual metaphor means. The Band Director's Lessons About Life is easy to read, makes a great gift, and expresses many universal spiritual principles in an easy-to-understand way. If you want to go deeper in your spiritual growth, I've also published a study guide to accompany the Book of Parables. It turns the Band Director's Lessons About Life into a year-long course in spiritual development. You will spend a week on each of the 50 parables. There's a deeper teaching about the meaning of each parable, reflection and discussion questions, especially if you would like to use the study guide in a group setting, and a different meditation for each lesson. The third book in the series is a little book titled The Band Director's Pocket Guide to Spiritual Growth. This little book explains a simple 3-step process for putting your spiritual growth into high gear. You can learn more about all these 3 books and my other books at my website, www.cominghomespirit.com. Because, after all of us are on a spiritual journey back home to God. So that's cominghomespirit.com. You can also go directly to my Shopify page at cominghomespirit.myshopify.com, where you can purchase my books directly from me. At the moment, I can only ship paperback books within the continental United States. So if you live in other countries, you will need to purchase my books through Amazon in your own country. If you're enjoying this podcast, I really think you'll enjoy my band director series of books as well. Now, back to the program.
You mentioned that you kind of feed yourself first so that
Yes.
then you can feed others or give to others.
Yes.
And in several of my books, I've pointed out this. A lot of people have learned that, Abraham Maslow's um, hierarchy, right? The hierarchy of
Yes.
needs. We started out with the lowest level with the physical needs for food, shelter, clothing, etc., and we move up and up and up. And often we see this presented as an image of a triangle,
Mhm.
and at the peak is self-actualization, right? Which means becoming all that we can be. But very late in his life, Abraham Maslow is your great kind of 20th century psychologist. He realized that no, there's something more than that. And the highest point on his hierarchy of needs is self-transcendence,
Mm.
going beyond ourselves and helping others to become all
Yes.
they can become. And that's what we do as teachers. What we try to do as
Yes.
teachers anyway. And that's what brings us the most joy and fulfillment in life is
Mm.
helping others. And often we're not taught that and we don't realize that.
I agree with that. That's the top of everything that I do. Yeah, I have a deep, deep desire just to help. I'm a
Yeah.
messenger. I think people that are attracted to me that want to know, what do you do? How do you see life when it comes to things that you look at? And so I tell them, you just observe. Observe, and it's going to reveal itself to you. And even that, just being silent. Yesterday I was in a store and I knew what I was going to buy, and so I was going toward that. I saw a woman who just looked really frazzled, and she was on the phone, and she was walking the opposite way toward me, and I was distracted to the point of turning around to look at her. And I just thought, wow, just imagine all the energy people are putting out now. I mean, even when they just go to the store to pick up toothpaste, and we're swimming in that energy. It makes so much sense that later on when we get home, it's like all of a sudden we could even pick up on some of that, and we just don't
Yeah.
feel as balanced as we used to. So I'm doing a lot of being present in the moment, feeling myself in my body, just doing clearing in my head, okay, let's let go of all that because that's not something I have to pay attention to. And that's one of the other things that I use to stay centered. But it was just an important observation to me. I mean, everybody's being bombarded with so much energy.
I find stores places that I only go there because I have to, right? I have to
Mhm.
get some food, right? But I go into stores and get out just as quickly as I can. I don't like
Yes.
the energy in there, and a lot of it's from the people. A lot of it's, I mean, as being a musician, a lot of it's the terrible
Oh.
music that's played in stores. It just drives me nuts and drives me out of their stores usually. But yeah, the energy that we carry has a big impact on the energy that we carry, the energy that we, project. It
Mhm.
has a big impact on other people when we don't even think about that. And, Connie, one thing that I wonder if you could help us to understand, you call yourself a spiritual artist, and I haven't heard that particular term before. What exactly do you mean by that?
Okay, good. I mean that when I see people and I work with people or do speaking engagements or what have you, my work, my spiritual work, I use all of the gifts that I've acquired at this time that have just slowly developed. And, when I'm ready to have that skill or that gift, it's come about. And so, like my inner hearing, my inner knowing, um, all the what they call the clairs. And
Right.
so
So
I use all of those
clairaudience,
things.
clairsentience, etc.
Right. And then I also have knowledge. It's just, simply it's all energy. And so I understand. I've been given information from my guides, and I understand energy because it's just so powerful within me, that understanding. And, there's a lot of times where I walk around and, like I said, I'm just thinking about things or I'm feeling things. And these are tools that have been opened up to me the more that I've developed my interest and my openness to learning about spiritual things. And so I believe everyone has availability to these gifts. And it's up to them whether they want to develop it or not. But life happens, and oftentimes everyone is using them anyway. They just
Yeah.
don't understand how
Right.
it's happening. And sometimes I don't even know if it's a sense of understanding that you have to have. But I've always grown up knowing about intuition. I learned it from my mom. What do you feel? And then I'd have to identify that,
Yeah.
because that was true for me. Um, so it's the use of everything that I know how to do up to this point, and I consider it energy and spirit, and it's co-creating what happens around me. It comes out as manifestation.
How would you suggest that people go about developing their spiritual gifts that are, latent really within all of us? Latent meaning something exists within us, but we haven't recognized it or developed it. How would you suggest people go about developing their latent spiritual gifts?
Well, I think right now there's the largest influx of energy coming through to our planet it's causing a lot of people to awaken. And so the people that are awakening, they're having experiences that they don't understand. And when that happens, either, you feel scared about it, you don't feel comfortable, you could feel uncomfortable with what's happening. And some people feel curious and they feel joyful when they experience it. So I think by finding teachers, that have gone through the experiences to guide you, I, you know, I think that's or groups. Right now it's all about community. And so what's happening, what feel is happening is that there are a lot of groups forming and looking for that support of like minds.
Right.
Would you like to hear about some tips for 5D living? Something that kind of
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So I truly believe in the co-creation of moment by moment miracles. It's what we call the true heaven on earth. That's how I define it. Um, and I do, a lot of book reading, a lot of group, and then I attend groups and I talk to a lot of people. And so I don't know if I have to name my source, a book that I read, but in that book
Oh,
it
well, if you can, yes, please.
Oh, okay. I really liked a book called Mastering Your 5D Self: Tools for Creating a New Reality by Maureen Saint Germain. And she defined it 5D as that we're already vibrating at the fifth dimension, and that it's a vibrational shift. It's not a physical one. And so these are the things that I do to help myself. And one of them is breathe. Very simple.
All of us breathe, or we wouldn't be alive. So maybe you could explain that in a little bit more
Okay.
detail.
All right. It's just take a moment when you feel the stress of whatever it may be, a trigger. Just take a breath to give yourself that moment and to kind of stop whatever rapid thinking that you may be in so
Yeah,
that it just brings you back to balance.
right. A
That's
deep
going to be
breath, right?
helpful. Hmm?
A deep breath.
Yes. Deep breath.
And And this affects us on many levels. I mean, in
Yes.
the Eastern traditions, there's a big focus on the breath,
Yes.
right? And breathing, and people talk about doing breath work and breathing exercises, part of meditation, all that kind of stuff. So there's a big focus on the breath. But yeah, some of the physiological changes are when we take a deep breath, it actually changes what are really hormones within our body. If you're shallow and rapid breathing is associated with panic. And our body produces a lot of cortisol and the stress hormones that create the fight or flight response in our bodies. So part of this is physiological. Just
Uh-huh.
slow your breathing, deepen your breathing, and it calms your body. Part
Uh-huh.
of it's psychological, part of it's spiritual, or et cetera. So there's many dimensions. In fact, I was going
Uh-huh.
to mention that, yeah, we are all multi-dimensional beings,
Yes.
right? But
Yes.
we're not really aware of all the dimensions. So here we are, mostly in this physical three-dimensional world and three-dimensional reality, but we have a soul or a spirit, and that's not material. Like, that exists on a different dimension. So in fact, our soul or spirit is much more complicated than that. That's a simplification, right? Because we have many bodies. Most, people would say we have our
Yes.
physical body, our astral body, our etheric body, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we actually are complex beings that are multidimensional, and we're already existing in multiple dimensions. And it's really a shift in awareness to
Yeah.
become aware of some of the other dimensions. Does
Oh,
that
that is
does that
very
resonate?
beautiful. That's right on. I love
Okay.
hearing that. That is so I just I just love hearing that. That is great. That's exactly it. So another thing that I do, I listen and I trust. Be still and know that I am.
Right.
Accepting my divine self, I connect with an inner knowledge, with wisdom, and with love. And so that's becoming really paramount in this next year as we go into 2026. I feel very drawn to that. The other thing in the work that I've been doing with groups and leading groups is when you're speak right now it's about speaking, using your own truth, honoring your courage, honoring your strength, using your truth. The next thing, practicing compassion. And these are things that I do that, they didn't come from the book. I think she mentions those, some of those topics in there, but these are things that I grasped onto. Practice compassion with yourself. Take yourself really lightly. Use laughter, be joyful. I'll tell you that when I go into spaces or I work with people, I use a Tibetan bell to clear the space and to balance, the energy. And so it's really funny because I understand my inner hearing, and my guides will always tell me, "You're the bell." And I'm like, I have a funny relationship sometimes. I'll I'll argue with them, or I'll be like, "What? What are you talking about?" And then they'll explain it to me, and they're like, "You really don't need to bring that. You are the bell." And I'm like, "Okay, but I really like it." And so we have that little exchange going on.
Yeah.
Practice gratitude,
Yeah, you
appreciation.
you you are the bell. You mean you can bring the Tibetan bell if you want and ring the bell, but keep in mind that it's you. It's like it's
Right.
not anything outside you.
Yes.
It's all about what's inside you. You are
Yes.
the bell. You're supposed to vibrate with divine vibration. I
Yes.
mean, for years and years and years, I've prayed and I've tried to visualize myself as a lamp, right? And my prayer has gone something like this, God, I am the lamp, you are the light. Let me be a pure vessel that your light might shine through me and into the world. And the
Yeah.
same so that's in a visual sense. The bell thing is
Yes.
just in an audible sense, yeah,
Yes.
hearing sense that it's the divine vibration, the vibration of God that we're supposed to resonate with.
Yes. Yeah, you can tell that I'm very auditory. There's something that I really am very attracted to toning, to voice, to song. It's all vibration to me, and it's very healing.
Last night I was having supper with a group of people, and one of them does sound healing. More and more
Oh,
people are
yeah.
getting it. That one of my sisters actually also
Mm.
does sound healing.
Oh, I love it. It's a great modality for people. I think it will really help them in seeing a different way to do things, how to handle their
Yes,
health, how to handle their balance, how to handle just something for them to do that they might resonate with.
right.
Mhm. Okay, so then one of the last things, it's practice gratitude, appreciations, big and small.
Yes, indeed.
And be mindful of what is being created in your life. Say thank you for the lessons.
Oh, that's hard, right? You know, when difficult things happen to us in our lives, and when we have to deal with difficult people who give us a hard time, we want to like, ah,
Mhm.
or I was complaining yesterday about my struggles with a computer program that wasn't doing what I wanted it to do, and I couldn't figure out. "Ah." Yeah, it's really hard to stop and say, "Okay, God, what lesson am I supposed to be learning from this?" Right? From this event or this difficult person or this, terrible situation in my life. What lesson am I supposed to be learning
Oh,
here? It's very hard to take that perspective, but that's that's the perspective we need to
yes.
try to embrace, isn't it?
Yes. Yes, and that's I guess it all like I said, going back to our interview in the very beginning, that's why I started to develop all these things, my knowings of all these things or my curiosity trying to I think we're all spiritual seekers. I think
Yes.
that's what we're here for. And I just was looking for the answer for me. How do I help myself the most? How can I do this so that I don't have to depend on anyone else? What is my inner voice? What is my inner thought? What is my, what am I supposed to be doing? But very
And
true.
so and yeah, most of us don't get answers
Yeah.
from God, or at least we're not hearing them. I mean, for
Oh,
years, I would say, "God, I'm not getting your emails, man. I'm kinda daft, right? I'm a linear thinking male human, and I
yes.
got a thick skull. Like, make it clear to me. What do you want me to do? What's my mission, man?" And, but God doesn't communicate with us that way. He doesn't send emails. We have to listen to that still small voice within, and try to develop our awareness of that inner guidance, because it is coming from within us, and it's subtle, it's gentle,
Yes.
and we usually miss it. So what have you done to kind of develop that? I mean, some of it's
Mhm.
breathing, some of it's slowing down, trying to slow down your own mind and still your body so that you're not constantly engaged in activity, constant activity. That's what our world is like today, right? Constant activity. So what are
Yes.
there some other pointers that you can give to people about how to begin to develop more that connection with our inner guidance from God?
Let's see. There are times where I find, the answers may not be right at the tip of my tongue. And during those times, I call it kind of a waiting period. I just do the things that I really enjoy doing. I'll take a walk, around a pond by
Yeah.
my house, or I'll just simply take a walk. I just have to know that it's going to come. And I can put myself in a frenzy, kind of wondering, okay, when's this going to happen? I feel that's going to happen, but I'm not sure. And then and sometimes I may not even feel some of the things that I usually feel when I'm waiting for them to happen. I just got to keep on keeping on.
Sometimes, yeah. It's
I just
like
gotta
the
keep
the
I gotta keep
the
trusting and I gotta keep knowing. And what else can you do? Like I said, community, being with people of like mind. Hopefully the like mind that they are is uplifting to you. It's not going to be something that brings you down. You have to use a lot of discernment, and you just have to feel things out. Um in order to be at the highest vibrations, you have to know what you're really looking for, what feels right. I mean, I understand that not everybody feels and sees and thinks in this way, but you do understand when you're happy and what makes you smile and what makes your heart sing. I mean, I hope. That's what I go for. That's what I work toward. Just what brings me joy. Well, I mean, I even use that when I release clutter around my house. This summer was a lot of releasement.
Sense Our sense of joy is really divine guidance leading
Yes.
us in
Yes.
that direction. Yeah.
Well,
You you were going through a list of things you had written down. Is
mhm.
there anything else on that list you want to touch on?
No, I think I went through everything.
Okay, super. And you're writing a book. You've finished the manuscript. You're looking to try to get it published. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the book that you've written?
Oh, there's one more thing I want to tell you about intuition. Let me
Okay.
clear that up. Something that came to mind and I thought, "Oh, I want to talk about that." I when I'm making decisions or when I'm moving to the next step, I call this following the thread. And so I look for an open door of where I want to go. I try things. If it doesn't feel right for me, well, I just close the door and I go to the next.
Yeah.
And so I call that following the thread. It's just I'm very aware and astute to where I want to be, what I want to do. Yet I really don't have a focus on that end result. I just do it moment by moment. And I've
Right.
always have been very successful using that technique. Um Now in terms of my book, it's really saying yes to life. And that's
What's the
part of
title of What's the title of your book, Connie?
it may be very close to that. I said yes to life because
Okay,
I'm
I said
waiting
yes
for.
to life. Beautiful.
Mhm. Yeah. And so it even ties back to to the part where of my experiences as a walk-in, as knowing that I had a conversation with God, knowing what I was going to do here, knowing what was planned for me before I came in, and then saying yes to this experience. So that's what it's basically about. It's about my journey. It's about the little events in my life that have happened that have led me to the next thing and how I handled that. Um, and just all the miracles that have happened along the way. And it's my hope that just like a cup of warm tea, really comforts. It's my hope that my words and the energy of my book will comfort others in the same way.
Yeah. And I'm sure it will, Connie. It sounds like an interesting book, reading about
Yes.
your journey and the events of your life. I've
Mhm.
always enjoyed that genre, biography and memoir,
Oh, yeah.
hearing about how other people's lives have gone, the struggles they've encountered, how they've overcome them, all that kind of stuff. And in fact, I'm working on a couple books, two books right now that are essentially memoir. Yeah, that's
Oh. Yeah, I love that topic. I love anything that has truth in it. I'm very
yeah,
drawn to true stories. I'm very drawn to, I want to really know the stuff. It's like, okay, no, that other stuff is fluff for me. I want to understand. I want to know. And it doesn't come from my brain, it comes from my heart. I want
yes,
to know what to do from my heart.
yeah, and an inner knowing rather
Uh-huh.
than an intellectual thinking.
Yes. So doing more of that kind of work for your viewers, I think that would, that's really important. Because I didn't understand even up to the stage of where I'm at in my life right now, people would say that I'd be in classes and they'd be like, follow your heart and do this and that. And I'm like, what are you talking about? What do you mean by that?
Right.
And
Yeah.
it's just,
Because we're
and it's
not
even,
taught that,
no, we're
right?
not.
Yeah.
We're not.
We have, in school, we have mathematics and English language and science, but we don't have a class in, connecting with your inner self, connecting with your soul, connecting with your heart, connecting with God's guidance. There's nothing about that stuff, right? So yeah, we're left on our own to seek it and find it somehow. Yeah.
Yes.
And that's a big part of what my podcast is about, helping people to, to connect with those things, to find their guidance, to hear the stories of other people, how other people have made out on their spiritual journeys and their spiritual transformations.
Yes.
So it's a delight to talk with you, Kani. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your experiences with us today.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. And I want to thank you because, again, this has been a highlight in my life. And right here, right
good.
now, I just want to say thank you to you because you're a very forward thinker. You're much of a forward thinker, and I really enjoy that. I think that's the space I come from too.
Thank you. Thanks for your compliments. We always like compliments. We never get enough compliments somehow. So God bless you on your journey. Good luck with particularly with your spiritual work, and I hope you manage to get your book published. And I'm sure that will be a guidance to people. And
yes.
what we're both here for. So I feel we're kindred souls, Kani.
Yes,
God bless you.
I feel the same way. I remember first meeting you and talking to you, and I just thought to myself, now that's a person I really want to sit down with and talk to. And I'm glad we got the opportunity to do that.
Me too. Amen. Okay. Have a great day, Kani.